Who are we?
Yo, what is up, guys? A lot has happened since we last spoke.
It's been a minute. I think our last show was draft. The draft.
Yeah, and Mitchell was so upset with the draft that he literally retired from podcast hosting.
That
I had
could
to
not
pull
be
him out
further
of
from the
retirement.
truth. No, you know it's funny. I went on vacation immediately after. Literally, like we finished draft talk, and then I left.
Yeah. It's true. They left me at their house to lock up. I had to lock their doors.
And then we haven't done an episode since then. So it's been, when was the draft?
Shake
Early
the rust
May,
off.
right?
Yeah.
We've only missed it feels like we've missed so many, but we've really only missed 4 or 5 episodes.
Yeah, not many, because we did them weekly. Not many. And honestly, guys,
right, I'm saying.
there wasn't a whole lot going on.
It's the off season
until this week.
Yeah, so it's the off season. And it's hard. Although last off season, I give us, to our credit, we did a lot of stupid stuff, but we did a show every single week, which is crazy. Took a little break this time around. Don't know what the rest of the off season will look like for us. Maybe it's kind of a thing where it's like, until training camp picks up, maybe we're just, hey, if something happens, we get on and talk about it. But I don't want you guys, to be expecting weekly episodes again. It's a difficult season. I got a 15-month-old. Bryce has a 5-month-old, 5-month-old,
4-month-old. I've got a bunch of people I got to lead now. It's just hard, bro. So
this is funny. Okay, this is something that we could say now. Draft night, round 1 of the draft. Right before we went on the air, my wife comes up to me. She's like, "I'm pregnant." No, you know this. What you shocked about?
He's pregnant.
She comes up to me. She's like, "I'm pregnant." I was like, "What?" And then we literally went from that, and she's like crying. We're all pumped. To I walked in this room, and we start talking about the draft.
Played it so well, bro. You wouldn't have known a thing, but it makes sense. Y'all remember, if you go back and watch that episode, Kristen was so willing to make me a pot of chili. She even put raw onions in it. She scooped some sour cream on top. She really treated me. And I thought to myself, I was like, dang, that was really nice of her. And Kristen and I have a joke where she gets 10 mean comments, and then she has to do one nice thing or say a nice thing to me. Right. So I was wondering, maybe I was due for a kind gesture. How do you say that word?
You nailed it the second time.
Gesture. Yeah. So maybe that was what it was.
Okay. Anyway.
What, did I say it wrong?
Gesture.
Yeah,
yes.
That feels right. Sorry.
Yeah.
You're the guy. You're the pronunciation guy. Okay.
So anyway, that was fun. And then, if anybody out there has had kids, first trimester of pregnancy, tough on the mama, right? So
yeah,
she's been dealing with the first trimester sickness and not really been able to, do much else. So I stepped it up as, Waylon's dad, and it's just taking a lot of time.
Hey,
so.
Flex on me real quick. Go ahead and flex on him.
Let
me just see
I've always been Waylon's
No, I meant
dad.
literally flex. Let me see it. Big dad.
I'm good.
Dad of the year.
Okay. Anyway, just all that to describe why you haven't heard from Boys Talking Ball in a minute, but we are back. We are the boys. I'm Mitchell. That's Bryce. And we're going to talk a little football, namely big, massive trades.
Should we beat around the bush, or should we just get to the bush?
Myles Garrett to the Rams, Jared Verse to the Browns. That happened. This week.
I mean, kick off your initial feelings, bro. This is really where I want you to just lay it all out there.
I think I was at Publix. We had the babysitter watching Waylon. This is weird.
We
had the babysitter watching Waylon. Well, because our staff does this quite often, but you can actually go to Publix, sit down at a table and do work. They have Wi-Fi there. They have every, food item and beverage you could imagine. It's actually a great place to do some work. So we had the babysitter watching Waylon. I went to Publix. I was just sitting there doing some work. Happened to open up the old IG, and wow, lots of stuff. And then soon after that, it was texts, call. My brother called. It was just a barrage of people just hitting me up wanting to know. Look, initial thought. Actually, this is what I've been telling people is like I'm going off my gut feeling. Like I trust my gut when it comes to the Browns. If it just feels terrible, then I'm feeling like that's not a good deal. If it feels like, wait, actually, like I could get behind this, I feel pretty good about it. And I'll be 100% honest with you. Given the get back that we got, I felt pretty good about it, dude. And now I've had a lot of people reach out to me and say, well, they got one first round pick. Like, how is that worth Myles Garrett? Well, first of all, you can't forget about the second round pick and the third round pick that they also got. Second of all, that first round pick is in next year's draft, which everybody is saying is going to be one of the most loaded drafts that we've seen in a long time. And we are now one of only 2 teams with multiple picks in that first round of next year's draft, us and the Jets. So to gather that draft capital is a big deal. The last thing I'll say about it is you cannot discount the player that we are getting in return. Now, is Jared Verse Myles Garrett? Of course he's not. Nobody's Myles Garrett. You're not going to 1-for-1 find yourself a Myles Garrett replacement, but you could do a lot worse than Jared Verse coming over. Yeah. We're talking about a guy who is entering his 3rd season in the league, first 2 years, Pro Bowl, first year, Defensive Rookie of the Year. I mean, if you're looking for young edge rushers to start your team with, he's probably tops on the list. I remember us talking about him. Yeah. I can't remember if we picked it, like if we predicted that he would be Defensive Rookie of the Year. I want to say that one of us did, but that was like right when we were starting our show, was in the middle of his rookie year. So
and he plays the edge position, correct? Or he's outside linebacker?
He's like a hybrid. Well, I think he's a hybrid. He's listed as a linebacker, but he's more of a pass rusher than a run stopper or pass defender. Right. So he's not, and like Myles Garrett was pretty much purely pass rush. He really doesn't do like any sort of drop back coverage stuff, which I would, if I had to compare Jared Verse to another player, it'd probably be closer to like a TJ Watt. Where TJ Watt, I feel like, is more pass rush, but he is labeled as a linebacker in that defense and can do a little more of the coverage stuff. So that's the kind of player that we're getting. But when you consider the value for Jared Verse, if you were just a team looking to trade for Jared Verse, let's take Myles Garrett out of the picture, and you're thinking to yourself, what's this going to cost? You probably are giving up at least one first round pick, if not more than one. He was picked in the first round, so that's already his value. And then he's gone out in his 2 seasons and wildly surpassed what probably anybody thought he'd be able to do. I think Jared Verse is worth 2 first round picks. If you look at it that way and you just consider Jared Verse equals 2 first round picks, then the Browns came away with this with 3 first round picks, a second and a third. That feels right for Myles Garrett, right? So when I look at the totality of the return that we got, I'm happy with it. And there's so many other factors, but you're asking for my initial gut feeling. That's my initial gut feeling. Did I want Myles Garrett to be gone? Of course not. And I've come on this show and fought for him and said, the Browns are not going to trade him. Like, they don't have to trade him. If they don't want to trade him, they don't have to. And by the way, that was right. They didn't. They held on to him for a long time. But according to all the reports, the Rams were constantly pestering them, checking in all the time. Squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? Eventually, they presented a deal. Andrew Berry put it this way. They presented a deal that it would have been irresponsible for the Browns to pass up. And that's what they did. They exchanged a guy who's probably got, if you look at Myles Garrett, he's still in his prime, but I would say he's 30, got maybe 31. At most, I would say he's got 4 years left, 5, 4 years of really high productivity, 4 years.
I'd say probably 2 years of productivity.
Okay. Jared Verse, you're probably looking at 7 to 10 years of really great years ahead for him. Just started.
He's 21 years old.
He's still on his rookie deal. So, so it's like,
oh, he's 25.
You're giving up. I mean, you're bringing a guy in who's, again, the productivity level is not the same. You're not going to look at a 20 sack a year guy, at least not yet. Who knows if he'll get there, but he's not that right now. But what he is a very productive leader who really, in my opinion, transformed that Rams defense. For a while, it was just, when you think about the Rams, you think about offense, and they didn't really have a defense to speak of. Then when he showed up and they started really turning that thing around, you're like, oh, this is a complete team.
We were all talking about Jared Verse 2 years ago.
Yeah.
when
So
it came
that's
to
my initial
defensive
thoughts,
rookie of
dude.
the year.
Right. I mean, that's my initial thoughts on it. I mean, I'm happy. I'm happy to add him to this defense. To me, the defense doesn't need to take a step back now because yes, you're losing a big piece, but you're gaining a big piece too. And I think that they just got younger. You know, they just got to me more motivated. I mean, I know Myles has constantly said it's about winning. It's about winning. It's about winning. But the fact of the matter is, bro did not want to be in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And he made that very clear.
He made it
My
on
stance
Radio
always
Row.
was, and my stance always was they don't have to trade you unless they want to. They don't have to let you go. And they didn't, you know, and by the way, I don't think they really wanted to. Again, until Jared Verse was thrown into the mix, then they had to start thinking about it. But for the most part, I think their plans, just as Andrew Berry had told us, were to keep him a one helmet player for the rest of his career. And now obviously that's not the case, but you got to consider of everything you could have got back. I mean, it doesn't get much better. If you're making a list of the top 5 edge rushers in this league, I bet you Jared Verse is on it. I don't know that you could name 4 edge rushers that are better. I'm sorry, that you could name 5 edge rushers that are better than Jared Verse.
It'd be hard to say 5. It'd definitely be harder if you just went outside linebacker in general, because you're right, he does play kind of a hybrid mix. There's definitely probably 5 more players who got more sacks than him last season, but that doesn't make them better edge rushers. Here's what I have to say about this. I think Jared Verse is an exceptional player, and if you think that we're capping, if you think Mitchell's just coping, then please go back to our first string of episodes. When we first started this podcast was the year that Jared Verse won Defensive Rookie of the Year, and Mitchell was very high on him back then as well. He called that he was going to be the Defensive Rookie of the Year from the beginning. When we started talking about the mid-year awards, the end-year awards, he always had Jared Verse up there. So that's not coping. That's legit. You really did. You were high on him, and he was really good. Here's something I wanted to point out about Jared Verse, just in general. His first year, he played the right outside linebacker position in the Rams defense. He had 2 pass deflected, 2 forced fumbles, 2 fumbles recovered, 4.5 sacks, and a combined 66 tackles with 11 tackles for loss and 18 quarterback hits. Those quarterback hits, that's a huge statistic, very helpful statistic. That's the year he got the Defensive Rookie of the Year. He got to the Pro Bowl. Then last season that just passed, they moved him to an outside linebacker role where he would line up on the left and the right. He played the entire season. He had 1 pass deflected, 3 forced fumbles, 7.5 sacks, 58 combined tackles, so like a little bit less tackles. However, still got another 11 tackles for loss, which can count as another sack. Like, tackle for losses are sacks, technically, in the sense of, like, it is a tackle for loss. And then QB hits from 18 the previous season to 27. Just an absolute jump in QB hits, which is really good. Just meant QBs were getting the ball out quicker, obviously, but he was still laying it down. Those are 2 really complete seasons, promising seasons. And for the Browns, with the defense you guys have, you pick up Carson Swessinger, and now you got outside linebacker and Jared Verse. This is as much as it's not going to be Myles Garrett, right? Myles Garrett is going to get to the quarterback quicker than anybody in this league, especially the next 2 years. He's going to be unstoppable like he has been. You're not going to have that, but you're going to have other aspects of your defense that are going to be a nightmare to deal with too. It's just a different nightmare. So I'm hyped about this pick. I think getting a first rounder, getting a second, and then you got the poison pill clause. If they trade him to an AFC North team, it's immediately that second pick is a first round pick next year.
Right.
Or in 2 years. So that's great. Like, or is it a 2020? Is it 2027 first and second, or 2028
2027.
Second?
It was a 2027 first, 2028 second, 2029 third.
Right, so that 2028 picks becomes a first-round pick if they trade him back into the AFC, even if they trade him back to the Browns, which is crazy, which I doubt would happen. But this overall, I think this was a good fit for both parties. Obviously, Myles Garrett didn't want to be there. He wanted to be part of a winning culture, so he left and went to the Rams, which, by the way, like, no sugarcoating it, the Rams are a better team than the Browns currently, just based off of how they've been playing. That's no shade. That's just straight statistics. They're better than my team too. Like, they're just a better team in the league currently. Now, we don't know what this year has for us, and every year is different, but based off of what we know, we would probably put them in our power ranking above our teams, realistically. I like this pick. I did see out there you're mentioning like, hey, this was offered to them. They couldn't give it up. I did see some reports out there. There was talks with the Eagles, and the Browns wanted Jalen Carter, and they were trying to offer up Nolan Smith, and they were like, Nolan Smith for Myles Garrett? You're out of your freaking mind. Jalen Carter, I could see. Best defensive tackle, arguably him and old boy that just got traded to the Dexter Lawrence. Those are some of the best defensive nose tackles in this game. I could see how if they had gotten Jalen Carter, they would have made a very similar trade. I could have seen that going through, but obviously the Eagles didn't want to get rid of him. So the Eagles lost that trade too. Seems like the Eagles have been taking a lot of L's because they could have gotten Myles Garrett. But do you believe that rumor was true, or did you hear about that?
So it's interesting that you bring that up because I was listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, of course, as I do, and they had Andrew Berry, the general manager of the Browns, on the show, and they asked him. They said, how did you? I think the question was something along the lines of like, how did you land on the Rams deal as the one that you wanted to make? Because surely you had 32 offers, right? Like surely every team, or 31, I guess, every team in the NFL wants Myles Garrett. And he gave an interesting answer. He said, every team in the NFL wants, he said, put it this way, like we all want to live in a seaside mansion, but we all cannot afford a seaside mansion, right? There's only a few select people that can actually afford it. He said, honestly, you would think that all 31 teams would make an offer, but all 31 teams cannot afford Myles Garrett. So no, he's like, we didn't have a ton of offers, at least not that we liked. He said they had a few because it's a combination of, I think he said there was three things that if he was ever going to move a star player like Myles Garrett, he would have to he would have to have draft capital. He would have to have a young ascending star player. These are his checklist thing. And there was a third thing, and I can't remember what it was, but they ended up getting those. Like the Rams were one of the few teams that could offer the capital and the player. And by the way, the Rams did not want to give up Jared Verse. They tried every way they could to make this deal happen on just picks. They didn't want to give up any players, which is greedy as all get out, if you ask me. But
good job, Andrew Berry.
And the Browns really were kind of like, no, until they said Jared Verse, and then the Browns were like, oh, okay, well, let's listen.
Okay. Now you're speaking our language.
Again, like think about, just go through every team in the league that you can think of who has the draft capital and also the star player to give up. The draft capital most teams have. I mean, because most people have draft picks, right? Unless you've traded them away. But for the most part, every team has some draft capital to give up, but not every team has that young ascending star player. I mean, legit. Yeah. You could think around the league, like who are the young ascending star defensive players?
Even Jalen Carter is older,
little bit. I mean, he's in that group, I would say. Like, okay, that's a deal that I could have seen. Back to your original question, like I do feel like the Eagles were in play, for Myles, but ultimately the Browns just liked what the Rams had to offer a little bit better.
I think the Rams was the best offer.
Yeah, but most teams just didn't have what it would have taken. So while I do feel like there probably were a couple other offers on the table, I feel like they got the best from LA for sure.
I think you could definitely remove Tampa from that list. We never trade our first round picks. Like Jason Light is so he thinks he can find the guy in the first round. That's his whole thing. So like definitely
and the Rams,
no way. The Rams
always trade their. I mean they picked it's like their only two actual first round picks before Ty Simpson this year were Jared Goff, traded him, and Jared Verse traded him, right? So there's literally no other first-round picks on their roster except now for Ty Simpson, which, by the way, I thought was interesting. Now having the full context on draft night, we thought that was a crazy reach for them to go after Ty Simpson at 12, right? We're like, there's no shot he's going this early. Well, now if you think about it now, they're thinking to themselves, we are going to give up our first-round pick next year for Myles Garrett. So we are not going to have a shot at one of those quarterbacks. So we have to get him now because it's like you're going to miss your window. If you don't take one now, whether he's their guy or not, they just knew that they weren't going to have a shot at one of the guys from next year. So interesting like context after the fact. That's why it's always fun to hear these kind of stories come out, because draft night we're all like, what are they thinking?
We really don't
exactly
know
what they were thinking. Yeah.
We don't know anything, actually.
We
can project. We can project and we can pretend, but we're not in those meetings. We don't really know what the plan is. I do think the way I joke about it is like the reason they always trade their first round picks out or their first round pick players is because they don't know how to pick in the first round. Ty Simpson's a great example of that. I don't think anybody was worried about that dude being there.
But I mean, the Jared Goff I would not say he was a failure. That's a success. I mean, he got them to the Super Bowl.
He got them to a Super Bowl. Yeah.
And then Jared Verse was a crazy good player. So I don't know that you could say they don't have the ability to pick good first round players. They just feel that it's more.
I was just trolling.
I think they honestly kind of line up with my thoughts on draft picks. You'd rather have a sure player. Like you'd rather have what you know is a good player versus picking somebody that projects to be a good player, but you're not 100% sure ever on any draft pick. So I just feel like that's probably more their philosophy of like a solid proven player is better than a pick. But any other closing thoughts on that big deal?
No, I think that was the biggest news possible that we could dig into. There was another trade.
Ultimately, there was. Before we get to it, let me just to close things out. Ultimately, like sure. I'm excited. You know, there was obviously a sense of like, dang, we just traded away like a future Hall of Famer. That does hit your brain. Like he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. But what I will say to people, what I said to myself when I thought this, and then what I will say to people who think that and hold that against the Browns for some reason is this. We've had that future Hall of Famer for the entirety of his career and for the entirety of what has been his prime, and we've struggled to win games. So if we're not winning with him, like I'm not saying Myles Garrett was the problem. What I am saying is that we can't hold on so tightly to something that wasn't getting us where we wanted to go, right?
This is how.
And then the other factor for me is that dude didn't want to be there. And ultimately, like, I want players in that locker room that want to be there and want to win. It was very telling. Jared Verse, by the way, crazy story. And you had a thought, and I don't want you to lose it, but just real quick.
I won't forget it.
Crazy story. He finds out about the trade. McVay calls him in the office, tells him. Of course, he's shocked. He's upset. I mean, that's his home. That's where he's built a life. He's young player on an ascending competitive team. He's upset, right? Like as anybody would be. But that night, first of all, he asked McVay if he can tell the team at their meeting. He wanted to break the news, not the coach. So he announced it to the team and said his goodbyes, and it was apparently like a very emotional scenario. One of his best friends they both played at Florida State is on that team. I want to say it's Brandon Fisk, I think his name is. But at any rate, it was tough for him to leave. He gets on a plane that night. He flies all the way from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast of Cleveland. Lands, gets to the building the next morning, has his introductory press conference, says a lot of incredible things. He's just a well-spoken individual. He said he's very honest. He's like, hey, it was upsetting. It was upsetting to, be traded and to leave. But like chip on my shoulder now. Like it was, he said, I was very grateful. Like the Browns obviously wanted me really bad. And I was very grateful that somebody wants me. Right. And he was like, I'm looking on this defense. By the way, what's that?
I said, we all want you, Jared Verse, on our teams, by the way.
Well, but it's always the thing of like, well, my old team was willing to give me up because they thought somebody else was better kind of thing. And athletes will do that.
He is better.
Yeah, but anyway, he's in Cleveland. All this to say, he's in Cleveland the very next morning. By the way, he's full gear, helmet. He's at OTAs. Saw the clip. He's at OTAs.
And he snatched Gabriel's number.
We'll see how that goes. Yeah, they're going to have to duke it out. I don't think there's going to be much of a battle. But at any rate, 12 hours later, dude's in Cleveland practicing. So that tells you about his character, right? And then after practice, he's meeting with the media again, and he's talking about this is not a losing team. He's like, I've seen the way losing teams practice because I've been on them. He's like, and I've seen the way winning teams practice because I've been on them. And he's like, this is not a losing team with a losing mindset and a losing culture. This team is flying around. They're fast. They want to be involved. They want to be a part of this. He's like, I'm excited to be here because I feel like this group right here wants to win. And dude, last thing I'll say, culture aspect, right? Myles Garrett wanted a winning culture. He was by far the best player on this team, if not the best player in the league. You are the one that creates that culture. If you don't show up for OTAs, you are creating a passive culture, right? He wanted to be a part of a winning culture. You got to bring that mindset. You are the leader. You are the best player on this team. So I think I maybe have talked about that in the past, but it just kind of always upset me that he was not willing to like bring that unless he was, like it during the season, of course, because he was always like, I want to win. Well, where are you in the off season? Like, and I get it. Yeah. We can't break down their summer plans and all that stuff. All I'm saying is I'm excited for the new culture. I'm excited for the young blood. I'm excited for the player. I'm excited for the pick that we got next year. Like, there's a lot of good things for the Browns looking forward.
Do we have any update on what happened to your defensive coordinator last season? Where is he? What's he doing?
He's still whining about how it got handled. Quite honestly, he just did an interview with I forget what the medium was, but he was out there talking about how like he got passed over and shouldn't have, and he's the reason Myles Garrett's not in Cleveland anymore because he's not there. I know. I'm like, bro, come on, man, come on.
Great, but he doesn't have a job, right?
No, and he's probably not going to.
Yeah,
all the roles are filled.
You can't talk like that though either, and then expect to get a job, bro.
It's just very childish to me for a guy that never seemed like that. He always seemed just very edgy and straight to the point, straightforward. I don't know. It just seemed like whiny to me, but he's old news to us. So that's probably why I feel that way. But
is Todd Monken going to be calling the defense?
No, they've got Mike Rutenberg, the guy that came over from Atlanta. He's going to be a D coordinator. Yeah, Todd Monken's an offensive guy, bro. He's going to be the OC.
That'll be good. That's probably why Deshaun Watson looks so good. By the way, just real quick.
Are we talking about OTAs or are we talking about what you want to talk about? We could dive right into OTAs.
I'm talking about the Browns, man. I'm just talking about the Browns, man. Like, I get excited. I don't know why. Probably the only two dudes on the earth right now that get just freaking pumped up about the Cleveland Browns. What is going on with the quarterbacks over there? Can you talk to me a little bit?
Listen. I've done a lot of talking so far. Why don't you tell us how OTAs have been looking for the Bucs, who you're excited about from the draft picks that we saw the Bucs snag? Like, how's Ruben Bain been looking? How's the diamond in the rough, Ted Hurst? Like, I want to hear about these stories. What have you been hearing and seeing out of Tampa?
Ruben Bain, day one, steps out to OTAs and noticeably, when you just have a dog on your team, like, because, again, not to bring up open wound, like Myles Garrett, when you see him, even like a Derrick Henry, like these guys just practice different. Their intensity is different. He's out there running laps around our best players, like on the D-line. I'm very high on Yaya Diaby and Vita Vea. And I get Vita Vea can't run as fast as Ruben Bain. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm fully aware of that. But this guy just has a chip on his shoulder. He's pissed he fell to 15, quite frankly. And he is so excited to play for us in his interviews, everything. He is just like ready to get to football. I love that. And he is training with so much intensity. He's healthy. That's one thing I love. He doesn't have like lingering injuries haunting him. He is like prime of his life, and he is going to be immediately an impact on our defensive line. Like, I think we finally hit. We've been drafting edge, dude, since 2019. Joe Tyron Sinkiova, whoever, it's hard to pronounce his name, but he was on your team last season. I don't know if he still is. No. We picked up Yaya Diaby a couple years ago. Chris Braswell from Alabama. Dude, we're always picking up these guys off the edge. And right now we have Kalijah Chancey. Mm-hmm. Defensive tackle we drafted a couple years ago, has been injured his whole career. Very, very good player if he stays healthy. Him and Vita Vea in the interior. Yaya Diaby on one side, Ruben Bain on the other with, the rotation of guys we have too I really like. Anthony Nelson had that pick 6 last season. He's the one who 2 years ago forced the fumble on Miles Sanders in the Panthers overtime game. Like, that guy's a beast too, but he's not a starter. And then we picked up the guy from in free agency. He had 17 and a half sacks last season as a backup. I forget what team he was on now. I mean, I hyped him up when it happened in our.
Who is he?
Let me look him up.
It's great radio right here.
Can you hear it?
No. I'm just saying it's silent.
Quadin Muhammad.
Who?
Al Quadin Muhammad.
Oh, Al.
You know Al?
I know Al.
From the Lions. He had here, I'll tell you his stat last
17
season.
and a half sacks last year?
Something like that. Hold on. Yeah.
We didn't hear about this dude?
He had 11 sacks. Sorry.
Okay, that's different.
That's a lot though. Sorry.
Yeah, but 17 and a half gets you into
17
like
and a
the
half.
top 3.
Yeah. But 11 sacks off the bench. He wasn't even a starter. So to have him in the rotation, super huge.
Sure.
Anyways, this isn't about him. It's not about those guys. I'm genuinely very, very excited about Ruben Bain. Josiah Trotter has looked incredible. Oh yeah, last thing I'll say about Ruben Bain. I don't know if you knew this or not, but Larry Foote is our linebackers coach, our edge rushers coach. And he's like, hey, I just want y'all to know in an interview, he's like, I used to be teammates with a guy named James Harrison. And everybody's like, right? And he's like, this kid reminds me of him, like, in every way. That is such a good thing to hear, that a player reminds you of, one of the most dominant edge rushers of that era. James Harrison, DeMarcus Ware. I mean, you know all too well about James Harrison, right? Played him twice a year.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, if you really think
Not
back to the AFC North edge rushers back then, you had Terrell Suggs, James Harrison. Like, just was not fun to play those guys.
Why does the AFC North always have good edge rushers? Not to get off on a tangent, but somebody on the radio said, actually, somebody from Pittsburgh media, if you can believe this, said, unfortunately, even after this trade, the Browns still have the best edge rusher in the AFC North.
That's funny.
Which I just thought was funny because the AFC North includes TJ Watt, Trey Hendrickson, and whoever the Bengals have now.
They got Dexter Lawrence, but yeah. And that kid last year who didn't sign until the very last minute, like Mike Green or whatever.
Yeah.
I forget his name. Anyways, Ruben Bain looks incredible. Very excited about him. Josiah Trotter, I haven't heard much about him in camp. He's definitely going to learn under Alex Anzalone. Our second round pick. I really hope he can shine. The next 2 picks, rounds 3 and 4, Ted Hurst has been moving, dude. Our offensive coordinator, Zach Robinson, has already came out and said that he is taking the X position on the playbook, which is essentially what Mike Evans played. And when you talk about, hey, a Hall of Famer leaving your team and how much that sucks, and you had him for his entire career, I feel that, bro. Like, I literally can relate because that's how we let Mike Evans walk. And Baker Mayfield was actually at an event today, and they are interviewing him, and he said him and Tampa are very far away on contract talks, and he's not where he'd like them to be. And he's pissed that we got rid of Mike Evans. So it doesn't sound like Baker Mayfield's very happy, which is not a good sign. So pray for us. But Ted Hurst, 6'4", ran a 4.4. This kid has been wowing at camp. He's catching everything. He's taller than everyone. He's got the same burst and speed as Emeka. It's going to be cool to see him take over that X spot and see what he can do. Emeka will still be that Z, and then Chris Godwin's probably going to be, your Swiss Army knife. Put him wherever, and he's going to be fully healthy. Last guy I'll talk about is our 4th round pick, Keontae Scott, cornerback out of Miami. This guy played together with Ruben Bain on that defense last year that actually ended the season playing really well. And this kid is going to play like a nickel, which tells me that him and Jacob Parrish had a really good, he was in the Defensive Rookie of the Year talks, Jacob Parrish. I think those 2 guys are going to play that nickel position, when we get into nickel and just like zone corner. He's going to be really good in that spot. So he's been doing really good. Benjamin Morrison, our second round pick last year, is
Yeah.
fully healthy this year. He had a lingering hip injury from before the draft. He is fully healthy. He got a pick in OTAs the other day off Baker in 11 on 11s. He's looking really promising. He's definitely going to have to take that QB2 role, CB2 role. But yeah, dude, honestly, OTAs have been looking really good for Tampa. Offense has been dominating. I know a lot of people may have saw that Emeka one-handed grab, but Jalen McMillan had a one-handed grab the other day. I don't really like the one-handed grabs. It kind of tells me there's some probably gnarly passes from Baker, but it is what it is, man. Like, they still look cool, and they caught it and did their thing. So OTAs look good.
So you kind of touched on Ted Hurst a little bit, but I think my biggest concern for the Bucs is the hole left by Mike Evans. So how confident do you feel? Because you have a lot of good names on the depth chart when you look at the wide receivers, but none of them have ever been number ones, right? So like somebody's going to have to step up and fill the number one role. And I'm wondering, like, how do you feel about these guys and their ability to do that?
A sleeper I'm actually really excited about is Jalen McMillan, who had a broken neck all of last season because of Teddy Bridgewater. He looks perfect shape. He looks really good. And weird enough, I think Emeka is going to be in that wide receiver 1 spot by the end of the season. Not the X. The way our playbook and the way Zach Robinson has been expressing is like, just because you're X receiver doesn't mean you're wide receiver 1. It just means you are our fade. You're playing the X in this playbook. So I don't know if Ted Hurst is going to be asked to be number 1 like that, but he's definitely going to have opportunities that Mike had. And based off everything I've seen, dude, I think he has a really good chance to make a name for himself. We're talking about a dude at Georgia State who dominated. Unfortunately, he was part of a college that wasn't SEC top 10, top 25. Like, Georgia State wasn't doing anything.
Right.
And so, and you hardly hear about wide receivers coming from those colleges and making huge names for themselves in the league. So there is that aspect of like, yeah, well, it's not very common, so don't get your hopes up, but this guy just has the potential, and I'm excited about the potential side of it.
Any big names not at camp?
No, everybody's participating that I know of.
Great.
I mean, there might be a few guys here or there that couldn't make it, but like Baker's out there warming up with the linemen, even though his contract hasn't been extended. Tristan Wirfs is out there. All the high-paying guys, they're all in. I think there's a general excitement around this season, especially after getting Ruben Bain. I think that kind of like, when you're sitting there and you're like, well, what are we going to get? And then you get a player like that and you're like, you get kind of fired up because you feel like your chances get heightened. Even just a 1% rise makes you feel like excited, I don't know.
Yeah. What you know about Christian Roseboom?
Is that on your list?
No, he's on your list, but he's listed as the starting right inside linebacker. Over our guy, Servachi Dennis. I don't know.
No.
I just thought I'd ask.
I have no idea who that is. Tell you the truth.
All right. Well, maybe on next week's episode.
Do some
cool.
research.
Well, pumped for the Bucs. From a Browns perspective, OTA wise, obviously it's just new. Everything is new here. I mean, brand new coaching staff, entirely new.
Did you guys get to go early because of that, or no?
Yep, got to go 1 week early because of the new head coach. Everything that we've seen from Todd Monken, despite the fact that at the time he was not the sexy pick for head coach, right? There was a lot of people that were not thrilled about that choice.
Wasn't your top choice?
Wasn't my top choice. But dude, this dude is just a football guy. He just comes from a football family. He just loves the game of football, and he is like, from everything we've seen, he's just very straight to the point, straightforward, not going to beat around the bush. You're going to get very direct answers from him. That's something that we are not used to. Kevin Stefanski never would ever show his hand ever. And he would always give the most generic, basic answers, which is why his press conferences are like, nobody really wants to, because he's not going to answer anything. Dude, Todd Monken's like, they're like, hey, what do y'all think about, Brendan Sorsby and the chance that y'all could pick him up in the supplemental draft? Todd Monken's like, that's a slippery slope. I mean, he's gotten himself into a lot of trouble in his career. I doubt we would do that kind of thing. Like I'm like, oh, like that's not ever. We're just not used to like that direct answer.
I saw a quote about a quarterback on your roster, or maybe potentially. Is that what you're talking about?
No, you probably, yeah. I mean, everybody. He's not on our roster. It's a guy that's in college right now. Technically, he plays for Texas Tech, but he's been like caught up in gambling. So he's appealing to a judge, a court, to see if he can get his eligibility back.
He's appealing to a court, not a team. Get it?
Okay. Well, no, apparently he's incredibly talented, which is why like he's hoping to be, if he doesn't play for Texas Tech this year, he's hoping to be in the supplemental draft for the NFL, which then means that like anybody, it's basically an auction. So it's like, hey, who would give up a first round pick for this guy? If any team does, then they have a shot at him. If it's nobody will give up a first round, then it's like, who's going to give up a second round? Who's going to give up a third? And they go all the way down the list, and then you get the teams that submit their picks, and then I think it's like the highest pick of the teams that
never heard of that.
Wins. Well, it doesn't happen every year. I think the last one was in 2013, and before that it was like the 90s. So
wow.
it doesn't always happen.
Who went in 2013 then? Do we know?
I can't remember, to be honest.
Okay.
I know that Josh Gordon. It might have been Josh Gordon because Josh Gordon was a supplemental draft guy.
Oh.
So you can find some. You can find some.
Dude,
gems.
Josh Gordon.
Honestly, a lot of
great.
the times he was great for the time he played, and he just couldn't stay out of trouble. But a lot of times it is guys with like supreme talent, but they get in trouble a lot, right? Like that, yeah, they have a hard time staying on the right side of things in the real world. So, and that's the case with this kid, supremely talented quarterback, gambling problem. You know, like he can't stay away from it. He's got a problem. He's addicted. So we'll see what happens with that. Anyway, all that to say is that Todd Monken is going to give you straight answers, and we're just not used to that in Cleveland. So that's been a refreshing thing about his press conferences.
That is cool.
He's planning to name a starter by the end of mandatory minicamp next week at the quarterback position. So obviously it's between Shedeur Sanders and I almost said Dylan Gabriel.
Wait, when's training camp start?
Deshaun Watson. Mandatory minicamp, I said. Training camp is in the fall.
Oh, okay.
But mandatory minicamp is for Cleveland is next week.
He's going to have an answer by then?
He's hoping to. Because you want to spend the summer like installing the offense that you're going to be practicing in the fall.
And you're a new head coach and you're offensive minded. You want that done and over with, and you want the media off your back.
If it's Deshaun Watson, it's a completely different offense than if it's Shedeur Sanders, right? Like they're two different offenses because Shedor's your more traditional pocket passer. Deshaun's like a little bit more mobile, whatever.
So is Gabriel not a chance? Genuinely asking, because I don't know.
He's not. And he shouldn't have been last year. And so I'm glad that this year's coaching staff sees that. It's between Shedeur and it's between Shedeur and Deshaun. But so I think he would like to name a starter after next week's minicamp. He's didn't guarantee he would, but he's like, if I can, I would like to. So that's exciting. We'll get to know who we're going forward with. They both looked
Green.
No, they both looked pretty good. They both look pretty good. I mean, it's OTAs, right? So everybody has highlights, but Deshaun, from all reports, Deshaun has looked the best he's looked since he came to Cleveland. He's more focused. He's more bought in. He's healthy as he's ever been, and he just looks. They're saying that if you're going to compare any version of him in Cleveland to his old Houston self, that this version is the closest to that Houston quarterback that we have seen. So super excited about the potential there. I mean, I'm glad he's healthy and back and competing. And then you've got Shedeur, who I think is only going to continue to ascend as he learns and grows. He's got a great arm. Like I would be excited no matter who is named the starter, to be honest. And I didn't think I would say that a year ago. Honestly, I wouldn't have said that because in my mind, I'm like, Deshaun's old news. We got to move on. Right now, I'm like, well, okay. If
that. You've said that, not just in your mind. That's been said.
But you know what? At the end of the day, we have the draft capital for 2027 to select a quarterback if we do not have a good season this year. So, either way they go, it's a win-win. I mean, if Deshaun, it's a little bit trickier. If Deshaun goes out there as the starter and performs really well, and we decide that Deshaun is our quarterback moving forward, it's trickier because of the contract. If Shedeur does that, it's easy because he's still on a rookie deal, right? So, we can then just load up around him. And if neither of them do that, then we use a draft pick on a quarterback next year. So it's kind of like your win-win-win, honestly. I really don't see a scenario where it's going to be, I mean, I don't want to go through another losing season, but if that is the case, then we get a chance to select our guy in the draft, right? Like if we just know that neither of the guys on this roster are the guy for the future. And if one of them does, rise to the top and really perform well, then you're excited because you get to use your 2027 draft capital to build around them. We're talking about Jeremiah Smith. We're talking about some of these other positional players that could really help this team. So,
you would
all
have
that to say, man, is
quite literally have the worst record in the league. I think Jeremiah is going 1 overall, potentially.
It just depends on the team, dude.
Yeah, that's true.
You can't pass up a quarterback, in this day and age. Like if they're there and you need one. I mean, receivers don't win you championships. I know he's a generational talent, and so I do think he's going to be top 5 for sure, probably top 3. But it'll just depend on how it all shakes out. But at any rate, looking good, dude. Looking good. I mean, the defense looks good. There's concern about the defensive depth in some positions. Our defensive depth, namely in the backfield, it's thin. It's light. I mean, we're 1 or 2 injuries away from both. We're 1 or 2 injuries away from being in trouble back there. Gotcha. So that is a little concerning, but you love what you have up front. You love what you have in the middle. So we'll see. And then we beefed up the outside with the receivers that we selected. So this receiver room is immensely better than it was last year.
Have they been looking good?
Yeah, doing rookie things, but also really flashing. I mean, I think people are more excited about Denzel Boston than they are about Casey Concepcion, and he was the higher pick, but they're excited about both of them. And then you look at the top 4 now compared to the top 4 last year, it's night and day different. And then the last thing I'll say is the offensive line completely retooled. I mean, I don't think there's one returning starter from last year. Completely different offensive line, which is just crazy, but also could be good. So it's gonna be
what the Bears did.
Exactly. I think that's a great example. We talked about that as being something the Browns need to do, and it's what they've done. Now, it remains to be seen if the players actually play well, but at least they've tried to retool that. They knew it was a point of weakness, and they've tried to retool it. So we'll see, man. A lot of new coming for Cleveland this season, which is honestly for a Browns fan, it's exciting.
The Bears have arguably the best offensive line in the league now. So if you guys can even get up there with the additions and the transitions you've made, then I would count that a success. What I'll say about the Deshaun Watson and Shedeur thing is it is not entirely the worst thing if you get your money's worth out of Deshaun Watson. At the end of the day, the money you spent on him, and if he comes out there and he wins and he plays well, there's nothing wrong with that. I know we've written him off, right? Like, maybe not you, but I think a lot of people have written him off, and I think a lot of people are...
I have, for the most part. In the past.
In the past. Like, dude, you really came in like, when you look at his career in Cleveland, it hasn't been a good one. However, if he can come in now in somewhat way, shape, or form, reformed and healthy, and the drama's behind him, right? Now he's probably going to ball out because he doesn't feel the pressure anymore. He just plays football. If that's the case, bro, that's your best case scenario, because when it comes to a pure talent standpoint, I believe, and this is my personal opinion, that Deshaun Watson is a more talented quarterback than anyone on that roster currently. If you're just basing it off of ceiling. I don't know, though.
Yeah. No, I mean, and like I said, I think you nailed it on the head when you said in the past that's how he felt. But I also didn't expect him to just come out looking incredible. This offseason, like I kind of expected him to like wither away and die, and that didn't happen. I mean, he is obviously still motivated and still wants to like play in this league. And so, I mean, I'm not going to fault the guy for giving his best. And for us, it's like, yeah, it is encouraging. It is encouraging because you want, not only do you want the competition, you want competition at every position. That means that you're a talented team. Like, because I would hate for it to feel like, oh, well, for Shedeur to be like, this is just my team, because it just is. I'm the only guy that could do it. No, we got some competition for you. So it may be your team, but you're going to have to fight for it,
Yeah.
So I think that both of these guys are going to come out of this better. And then whoever they go with, I mean, I think they have a great opportunity to succeed. We'll see.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say about your OTAs and just your draft picks. two guys we never got to talk about because we only did night one. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, safety out of Toledo, was such a fire pick. Second round, pick 58. There's your depth. You're talking about depth. This guy's going to be an immediate starter, I believe, in that secondary.
That's a guy who we were talking about as potentially top 15 pick.
Yeah, he was.
And we got him at 58.
He was a first round pick. Yeah.
Crazy, dude. Crazy value.
And then I really like the Justin Jefferson pick, linebacker out of Alabama. I mean, dude, you're really stacking your room with competent players who, like, for somebody to come in and learn under Carson Schlesinger and just play linebacker and like, dude, you just good rotation. Carson can take a play or two off now, get back in there type of thing. Like, this is, I feel like Andrew Berry, kind of another masterclass with the draft. And so interested to see how these dudes do with the OTAs and the mandatory minicamp. I will say the Casey Concepcion pick, I think it would have been better if y'all just traded back and just picked up Denzel Boston and got more picks, because I think Denzel Boston's going to be a better receiver. The Casey Concepcion one we made jokes about in mocks, but we didn't actually think he would go to you guys at that pick 24. So I don't know if he would have went in the first round if you guys didn't grab him.
I can remember that night feeling disappointed with the way that we went with our first two picks, but I will tell you that considering what we did with our second round picks and what we did after that, like, overall, I feel so much better about the Browns draft as a whole than I did just the first round. And by the way, like, that's who they wanted. I mean, just because it's not who I wanted doesn't mean that there wasn't a good draft for them. Right. They feel like they got the guys they wanted. By the way, we haven't even mentioned Spencer Fano, who they viewed as the top tackle in this draft, and they were able to trade back 3 spots and still get him. So
they'll get him. Yeah.
That is what allowed us to pick. I want to say it was the Emmanuel McNeil-Warren pick. Is we got that pick by trading back. So I can't remember if it was that one, if it was a later one, but at any rate, like, they got the guys that they wanted in the positions that they wanted them, and you come away with this draft with just a ton of talented kids, which is what they did last year too. Yeah. And everybody said that draft was incredible. And by the way, it was. Those guys proved to be very good players. You mentioned Carson. We haven't even mentioned Harold Fannin Jr. Like, all the players that they got out of that draft is just insane.
On here, Mason Graham's got to.
Yeah, Mason Graham's got to go this year. He's got to have a big year to justify the number 5 pick overall. And then you've got obviously Shedeur, who we're kind of waiting to see what happens as the 5th round pick. But put these drafts together, man. I mean, you can see what the Browns are doing. They're building a young core nucleus of players that they believe in. And once they find that quarterback, this thing is going to be primed and ready to take off.
Yeah, and Andrew Berry is not playing like, dude, he picked up Austin Barber, offensive tackle out of Florida, 3rd round. And then back-to-back, all the linemen, he got Parker. I don't even know how to say that last name. Brailsford from Alabama.
Brailsford, yeah.
Brailsford. I mean, dude, you clearly, like, do not want to fall into that trap you had last season where guys go down and you're screwed. Right. Shedeur is running for his life, or whoever, name X quarterback, which, it does kind of suck. This is what you talked about last season. Every week it felt like you're like, insert X quarterback. And this year you're starting that way again. It's like, okay, can we just name the guy and I can start talking about who it is,
It sounds like we could have an answer at the end of next week, which I'm pumped about.
That's awesome.
Great. Is there anything else you want to talk about, bro?
I think this is a good place just to say, hey guys, we're just checking in, letting y'all know we still exist and we love y'all. Shout out to StatMuse for sponsoring this podcast.
Hey, they hit us up. They're like, where y'all been?
We had a quota. No. We actually had to make this episode. Shout out to StatMuse.
Look, it's fun to be back. It's fun to record. Like I said, I don't know if we'll do this on a weekly basis, at least not until the season starts. Obviously, once it gets rolling in the fall, we back. But the summers are tough with the young kids and everything. But we're going to do it as much as we can because we just love talking about football. And we hope you love listening to us talk about football. It's been a while. It feels good. We're back. We're back, baby.
I missed you, bro.
Hey, we're back, baby. And then we don't release another episode for like 2 more months. Great. Appreciate y'all tuning in and listening to this reaction podcast. Myles Garrett is a Ram, Jared versus a Brown. And the offseason is underway.
Hey, wait, real quick.
What?
Tell them about the YouTube. Tell them they can go watch this.
You can. We're going to put this thing up on YouTube now. We got a channel. We put the first round of the draft complete video is up there. We live streamed it. It's like 3.5 hours long. If you want to go see like what we thought of your team's pick, go back and take a look at that. But yeah, every time we do this, I'm gonna try to just upload it on YouTube too, just to, if people want to see our faces, watch our reactions, check out the rooms that we're recording in. I'm in a planetarium right now, and you are in the back rooms. So yeah, go check us out on YouTube, Boys Talking Ball, and we love to hear from you. We appreciate y'all, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
And
you've been listening to Boys Talking Ball. If you would like to hear something specific on the show, message Boys Talking Ball directly on any social media platform. Thank you, and we'll see you back here next week.